1 second. What if 1 second was more than just a second? You know those seemingly meaningless moments that pass us by, they go from minutes to hours to weeks without even a second thought. I mean, just in the amount of time I've been standing on this stage, 30 more seconds have passed us by. 1 second. It just seems like such an insignificant amount of time. But there is truly no amount of time more significant in your life. Because what if 1 second was more than just a second? Imagine if it could make all the difference in your life. Help you go from comfort to growth, struggle to strength, lift you up after you've fallen down, or maybe most importantly, lift somebody else up in their time of need. That was exactly the experience I had just a few years ago. I had just reached that magical moment in time called freedom. You know when you put your kids to bed after a really long, hard day and you can finally relax? That was the moment. And if you're a parent, you know exactly the moment and the feeling that I'm talking about. So, I did what we do. I sat down by the side of the bed and started scrolling Instagram. And that's when I heard it. The most dreaded sound in the world. Footsteps. Little, tiny, 8-year-old footsteps quietly creaking down the hall. This is my get out of bed child. Something always seems to be wrong, but only at bedtime. Her head hurts, her tummy hurts, something always hurts. But on this particular night, her toe hurt. Deep breaths. I probably let out the biggest sigh in the world when I heard those words that night. Now, usually I would call her over, I would give her a quick hug and send her off to bed, tell her that sleep was exactly what her toe needed to feel better. But on this particular night, something was different. Something felt off. So in 1 second of strength, I threw my phone across the bed and I called her over. And I made a choice. I made a choice in that moment that I was going to hug her until she let go. And she held me for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I have thought a lot about those 5 minutes over the last couple of years and the 1 second that led up to it. What if I hadn't distanced myself from that phone and thrown it across the bed? What if I had prioritized my freedom instead of hugging my daughter that night? You see, she didn't need me to tell her that sleep was going to help her toe feel better, although I'm convinced that it would have. She needed love. She needed me. Now, one of my goals is to be the best dad I can be. But like you, I have lots of goals, dreams, ambitions. We are all in pursuit of things that matter. But if I've learned anything in the pursuit of what matters most, it's that it is never easy and it is not a straight line. It takes energy, effort, and consistency. And it's in these moments of trial and struggle when we are pushing and fighting for what matters most that our brain naturally and instinctively steps in to protect us. Why? Because we are creatures of survival. Our brain is naturally equipped with this fight or flight mechanism to protect us in times just like these. So our ancient ancestors back in the day, they used to use this fight or flight response to protect them from sharp teeth and claws and the different dangers of their day. Today, we don't have to deal with any of those same dangers. However, every step we take into the unknown in the pursuit of what matters most can trigger the same emotions and feelings that our brain naturally and instinctively associates with the need for survival. Simply put, the emotional part of our brain battles the logical part of our brain, the part of our brain that's responsible for setting these big goals and these dreams and putting a plan in place to get there. Because we know that behind us is comfort. Behind us is safety. And in front of us is this anxiety, this fear, this self-doubt, possible failure. So we're faced with a very simple question. Am I going to fight for what matters most? or am I going to turn and run towards comfort? The sad reality today is that too many people aren't choosing either of these options. We're choosing door number 3, distraction. Instead of fighting for what matters most, we sit down and we start scrolling social media, playing games on our phone. Why? Because it feels good. We let instant gratification in the form of dopamine that targets the pleasure center of our brain, we let it win every time. The 4-inch screen in your hand is strong enough to make you believe that short-term pleasure is greater than the long-term satisfaction that comes with pursuing what matters most. Muhammad Ali once said, "It isn't the mountains ahead to climb that wear you out, it's the pebble in your shoe." The pebble in the shoe of every person in the world with a smartphone is distraction. It is truly limiting our potential and keeping us from what matters most. One study showed that the average adult in the United States spends 5,803,500 seconds distracted on their device every year, 67 days. And the results for teenagers, they're worse. Teenagers are spending over 7 million seconds on distracting games and devices. 81 full days. Now, if I learned anything from the experience I had with my daughter, it's this. We have the power in 1 second of strength to overcome distractions or anything else that is standing between us and what matters most. The second of strength mindset is the power in any given moment to hack your brain, to overcome those distractions, to overcome those emotions, those anxieties, those fears, those doubts that are holding us back and limiting our potential and ultimately keeping us from happiness and growth. Viktor Frankl once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is the power to choose your response." Now, Viktor Frankl passed away about 10 years before the iPhone was introduced into the world, so he never got to witness or experience the distracting and addictive nature of these devices. If he was here today, I'm sure he would tell us his thoughts on what these devices are doing to man's search for meaning. But his premise is right. We have the power in 1 second of strength to choose the response that can make all the difference in our lives. What does this look like? Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, some of you are snoozers. You love that snooze button. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off and you want to push snooze because you know that button means comfort and warmth for about 9 more minutes, I want you to find your 1 second of strength. Simply think it. And it will give you the power in that 1 second to turn off your alarm, get out of bed, and put you in control of your day. When you know you should exercise, and motivation is nowhere to be found, you have the power in 1 second of strength, and it will give you that one jolt of energy to start. And maybe most importantly, when you find yourself stuck in the endless scroll of social media, you have the power in 1 second of strength to put down your phone so you can literally go do anything else. So to help, there's a simple framework that I use in my life that I think will help in yours. I naturally call it the SOS approach. On April 15th, 1912, the most famous SOS distress signal ever made rang out in the middle of the night from the unsinkable Titanic. That night, on its maiden voyage across the Atlantic Ocean, the Titanic hit an unwanted distraction, a pebble in its shoe. It was bigger than a pebble, but it was a distraction nonetheless. So that night, 2 radio operators did everything in their power to signal other ships in the area to save the passengers of the Titanic. Jack Phillips sadly passed away that night, but Harold Bride made it off the ship where he was pulled up onto a capsized lifeboat where he rode out the freezing temperatures until the Carpathia, the very ship that he called, saved them. The efforts of these 2 men saved 706 people that night. Now, many people believe that SOS is an outward distress signal that means save our souls. The SOS approach is an internal distress signal that can do the very same for you. And here's how it works. It starts with set your intentions. What does matter most in your life? Maybe you're a mom who wants to be more intentional with your kids. Maybe you're a student who dreams of getting a scholarship in sports or academics. Or you're an entrepreneur who has an idea or a product that you believe everyone has to have. Whatever it is, it starts with setting your intentions and then aligning your focus and your daily habits towards that goal. In Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, Alice asks the Cheshire Cat which direction she should go. To which the cat responds, well, that depends a good deal on where you want to get to. Alice gives the most typical teenager response possible, just goes, I don't care. To which the Cheshire Cat wisely says, then it doesn't much matter which direction you go. This is why set your intentions is the first critical step of the SOS approach. Because if we don't set our intentions and set course towards what matters most in our lives, we will end up in a place that doesn't much matter. Going with the flow never takes you where you want to go. You have to set your intentions. Next, observe your behavior. This is the moment I would invite you to evaluate your actions, to identify the icebergs, the pebbles, the distractions that are standing between you and what matters most in your life. How often should we do this? Weekly? Daily? The reality is that the distractive nature of our smartphones may require us to do this even more frequently. I hate to say it, but maybe even second by second. One study showed that the average American picks up their phone 144 times a day. 144 times. Now, I'm sure that many of those pickups are absolutely warranted, but you have to ask yourself, is this the pebble of distraction that is standing between me and what matters most in my life? The answer, more often than not, is yes. Because a smartphone, even with being in our eyesight, can trigger dopamine in our brains. And dopamine leads to distraction. And distraction limits our actions. We have to observe our behavior. And when we've done that, when we've observed that our behavior is not in line with the actions that we've set for our life and the intentions that we've set, it's time to shift. This is the moment I would invite you to find your 1 second of strength and shift back on course towards what matters. What does this look like? Shifting might look like finding your 1 second of strength to say yes to the opportunity you know you should say yes to, but you've just been too scared to do it. Finding your 1 second of strength might look like taking one step outside of your comfort zone because you know that step is going to lead to growth. Shifting might look like finding your 1 second of strength to unfollow that social media influencer you've been following, the one you've been comparing your life to and it's been making you question your worth. It might look like deleting social media altogether because the power of distraction is simply too strong. Or in my case, finding my 1 second of strength to throw my phone across the bed so I could hug my daughter for 5 minutes. The SOS approach is a simple framework that can help you set your intention in your life and stay on course towards what matters most. Whatever the obstacle is that's holding you back, there is 1 second of strength that can propel you forward. Imagine if 1 second could make all the difference in your life. So, to the mom who wants to be more present with your kids, to the husband who wants to be 1% better every single day, to the student who dreams of straight A's and scholarships, or the entrepreneur who has a product that you believe will change the world. Or if you're simply a guy with an idea worth sharing, please know that it is all possible if and only if we eliminate distractions and overcome the things that are holding us back in our life. And all it takes to do it is 1 second of strength. Thank you.